let your hair down. Hey, 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 hey. I got my hands in my pockets, kicking these rocks. It's kind of...
Good evening and welcome to the Carolyn Holt Show. This evening we are talking about Thanksgiving and all the wonderful things in our lives that we have to be thankful for. And we're also going to talk about when there's tragedy and issues that are not pleasant in one's life and how you get through the Thanksgiving holiday when you are really suffering, especially emotionally. Now, if you'd like to join tonight's conversation, you can feel free to call us at area code 323-293-3375. Again, that's 323-293-3375. I'm always excited about Thanksgiving. It's a great holiday for me because, you know, I get to spend it with friends and family. But this year is particularly special. And I want to say a special happy Thanksgiving to Morris Media, because Morris Media, they are responsible for me having the Carolyn Holt Show, and I am just eternally grateful and indebted to Felicia, because she's just a wonderful person, and I so thank her for her help in making the Carolyn Holt Show come to fruition. Some of you might know when we started this year, I had a co-host. And unfortunately, within 2 weeks of starting this show, we lost my co-host. But because of the love and the support of Mars Media, I've been able to continue to do the show. So I just want to show my gratitude for Felicia and her family, and I want to wish them a happy Thanksgiving. Now, for me, Thanksgiving also is a time of reflection. And I remember when my son, I guess he was about 7, he came home from school one day and he said, "Mom, the teacher asked us to share what we're thankful for." I said, "Well, did you share?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, what did you say?" And he said, "Well, I told them that I was thankful for my family, and I was thankful for my house and where I lived and my friends." And I said, that's so sweet. I really appreciate you saying how thankful you are for your family. And he said, "Mm-hmm." And I guess about a minute or so later, he said, "Mom, what does thankful mean?" And I was like, oh my God. Here he is. He's saying all the right things that is associated with being thankful, but he didn't know what thankful really meant. So I will never forget that. But he did go on to say, after he understood what thankful mean, he said, "Well, you know what, Mom, I had it right. I am thankful for you, and I'm thankful for the house and my friends." And I said, "Okay, well, that makes me feel really good." But for a moment there, I was really worried. So, you know, it's interesting sometimes. You should talk to your children and see what it is that they're thankful for, and if they really understand what the word thankful means, because I was surprised to hear that he wasn't as clear as he sounded. But the struggle or the difficult part of Thanksgiving is when it comes and you are having some tragedy or some challenge in your life that there's just no way that you could have seen it coming. Over the weekend, I had the pleasure of meeting a chaplain. He has a prison ministry, so he deals with young men and young women who are incarcerated, and he spends a lot of time with them during the holidays. But for him, he's very sad. He was going to be my guest, but it turns out that today was his wife's birthday. And so he opted to take her to dinner, and I can't blame him. He's a very smart man. He wants to stay married. So he took his wife to dinner. But their family suffered a major loss and a tragedy as their son, who was a dancer, and he was a dancer in a movie. I'm sorry, I don't know the name right now, but it's a new movie. But he was a dancer, and they lost their son over something very senseless. He apparently had a costume designed for, I guess, one of his dance routines, and the person, I guess the designer, took his money, and he mentioned to them, well, I've paid for this and I haven't received my costume. And so the person said, well, come to my house on Monday. All that's left to be done are the gloves, and we'll get that done. And so the young man, who was in constant contact with his father always, he called his father and said, Dad, this is where I'm going. And so he went to get the finished product regarding his costume. And I guess in order to make the gloves, he had to put his hand in some kind of cement. And apparently, while he did that is when the tragedy of the person killing him took place. And so in talking to the father, he talked about, how this had been just deeply troubling and trying for him and his family. But he said something that really touched me. He said, yes, this is a struggle, and yes, I'm having a very hard time with this situation and with losing my son. But when a holiday like Thanksgiving comes and you are having such a big challenge emotionally, he said you should do something fun. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my wife to dinner and celebrate her birthday, and I'm going to travel, and I'm just going to do things that make me feel better. So for the many people out there that are perhaps suffering during the Thanksgiving holiday, I think it is an opportunity to reflect and reassess your life and perhaps do some of the things in life that you've been putting off maybe all your life, because it is hard trying to make sense of something that's senseless. So the recommendation from this family is to do something that brings the family together, and something that you can draw energy from others who are perhaps not in the same deeply sad emotional state that you are. The other recommendations from people who've had health challenges, one person who suffered a major heart attack shared with me that they were going to sincerely work on a new diet, and not so much a diet, a lifestyle change. They were going to sit down and think about what it is they eat and what it is that they drink, and some of the things that they consume that's not conducive to good health. So I think these are all wonderful and great recommendations when life is not so wonderful, and here you are facing Thanksgiving, which is generally thought of as a very joyous occasion, and it is for most families. Now, unfortunately, when some families get together for Thanksgiving, it's it's very interesting. I didn't know that there's so much competition regarding the cooking of the meal for Thanksgiving. A lot of people dread the holiday because they have to visit, I guess, family, and certain family members feel that they're the expert at making this, that, or the other. And many times people just want to stay home because they don't want to have to argue with their in-laws and cousins about how to make the green bean casserole or the mac and cheese. And we're going to talk about that because I'd like to know which is it that people prefer when it comes to green beans. Is it green beans or just greens? Because I myself, I love greens. Green bean casserole, not so much. Also, there's this discussion, I guess, about squash versus sweet potatoes or yams. Now, me, I'm a yams person, or sweet potato person. Squash, well, I like zucchini. But I guess that's not the squash that people serve for Thanksgiving. I guess it's butternut squash. But I don't know. And I know that you people out there do. So I'm expecting you to call me and clarify, is it butternut squash that people typically serve for Thanksgiving? But like I said, I don't care for squash at all. I'm more interested in yams, and I like cornbread stuffing versus, I think you can make stuffing out of almost anything, but I like cornbread stuffing. I like turkey with the skin on it and dark meat. I like to cut the skin from the thigh portion. And I don't mind the breast portion if it's juicy, but apparently, according to CNN, a lot of you out there don't know how to cook turkey. And Butterball has a hotline that you can use to find out how to have a juicy and moist turkey. So if I'm going to eat the breast portion of the turkey, then it needs to be juicy and moist. But I guess Butterball is the official site and call center that people call to find out how to make turkey. And I'm just wondering, why do they wait until Thanksgiving to figure out how to make the turkey instead of, if you know you're going to have turkey, maybe you should find these things out earlier in the year. But I guess that's not how they do it. But the other interesting fact about Thanksgiving, again, this is from CNN, and it's, I guess the poll was taken like 2012 initially, and then it was updated in 2015. But for Thanksgiving, people consume for the Thanksgiving meal 4,500 calories. Now, that's a lot of stuffing, a lot of yams, a lot of mac and cheese, green bean casserole. I guess these are the staples in terms of the Thanksgiving meal, along with pie. And I guess some cake, but mainly pie. I guess apple pie, pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie. I know in my household, it's sweet potato pie, not pumpkin pie so much or apple pie, but definitely sweet potato pie. But these are just some of the things. Now, shortly we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to finish talking about Thanksgiving by the numbers and what happens in terms of what people do on Thanksgiving. So stay with me, and if you want to call, you can feel free to do so at area code 323-293-3375. All right, we'll be right back.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Attention, mothers and sons, fathers and daughters. Come join the 2016 Math Maze Game Tournament, Saturday, December 3rd, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Carson Community Center. Win trophies and great prizes while playing a card game that helps your kids improve their math skills. Mothers, bring your sons. Fathers, bring your daughters. Register online at mathmaze.us or call 310-697-3177. Sponsored by the Academic Preparation Squad, a California 501c3 nonprofit.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining the Carolyn Holt Show. If you'd like to call the show today, you can feel free to call at area code 323-293-3375 because I'm sure that there are many things that you can think about that you're grateful about. So we'd like to hear from you if you're grateful about something. But before we went to break, I was talking about CNN did this Thanksgiving Day by the numbers, and I was talking about the Butterball Turkey hotline. Well, it says that about 100,000 people call the Butterball hotline to get help in terms of preparing their turkey. So that's a lot of people. But also it says about 46 million turkeys are consumed for Thanksgiving. My goodness, that's a lot of turkeys. About 47 million people travel for the holidays. And the thing that I find interesting, they travel to see people they're not necessarily happy to see, and that they're a little ticked off about how the people prepare the meal. So I'm trying to figure out, well, why do that? But I guess that's just what people do. It says about 50 million people watch the Macy's parade. I don't watch the parade so much, but I can see that about 50 million people probably watch the football game because in my household, that's mainly what the guys do for Thanksgiving is they spend a lot of time watching football. And it says that 79% of people say that eating leftovers is more important than the Thanksgiving meal itself. Now, I agree. Leftovers are wonderful, and I think it basically tastes better the second day. But if you just continue to eat that Thanksgiving Day meal, you are going to gain some weight because on the day of Thanksgiving, if you consume 4,500 calories, if you keep eating that same food over a 3 or 4 day period, you're going to put on some pounds. Now, 88% of people say that they do eat turkey. I'm curious about what the other 12% eat, but I do know that a lot of people eat tofu for Thanksgiving, and there's something called tofurkey, I guess it is some kind of turkey and tofu. Oh, okay, I have it right. I did not know about that because not at my house, but I guess that there are people out there that eat that. But like I said, at my house is always, mac and cheese and mashed potatoes and yams and sweet potato pie, which I happen to love not only for Thanksgiving, but for Christmas as well. If I have some sweet potato pie, then I'm good to go. So for me, Thanksgiving really is about the meal and what you're gonna have. And so I do like turkey, like I said, but the dark meat and the skin on the turkey, because I've heard of people skinning their turkey. Well, I don't want that. I want some golden brown skin. I don't want that skinned turkey, but to each his own. But the other interesting thing about Thanksgiving is that people do some very interesting things, and especially corporations. And I was surprised to find this information out because I'm a shopper at Ross and Forever 21, and because, technically I will forever be 21. So, but I was saddened because they have a picture of a store in the Los Angeles Times. I'm not sure which store this is, but it's one of the ones mentioned in the article. And it says, give to love and love to give. So, when you see that sign, it puts you in a very good mood, and you would think, oh my God, this makes me feel good for the holiday. But the sad part about this story is that these stores that I mentioned, they had an issue with the Labor Department because they were paying some of the workers who supply their garments only $4 an hour. Now, when you first think about $4 an hour, you're thinking, okay, well, they must be doing this in China or perhaps in Mexico or somewhere else other than the United States. Well, no, this is in downtown Los Angeles. And you have to scratch your head because in the state of California, the minimum wage, I think, is $10 an hour. So if the minimum wage is $10 an hour, how do you get away with paying only $4? Now, I guess the intent of these stores is to save customers money. And I admit that I am a shopper of Ross and TJ Maxx. That was the other store. I do shop at all of these stores. But apparently they have fixed this situation. But had they not, I have to say, I wouldn't have been able to continue shopping there because if I don't support something, if I don't believe in shortchanging people, if the minimum wage is $10 an hour, and I'm supporting someone that only pays $4 an hour, then to me that's an issue of ethics. It's just unethical. And so I would be wrong to support that. But it's my understanding, according to this article, that they had some issues with the Department of Labor. It says the department said that from April to July, it investigated 77 local garment companies that were supplying some of the biggest clothing stores in the nation. And the investigators uncovered labor violations in 85% of the cases, the department said, and found that the companies cheated workers out of $1.1 million. Now, my upset about this is how can you have a sign that says give to love and love to give, and you are cheating your workers out of $1.1 million? That's a lot of money. So it reminds me also of Wells Fargo Bank. in all the information that I have read, they've issued these long statements of apology and long statements about how they want to do better. And I believe that perhaps they do want to do better. But how can you say all of these wonderful things that people would love to hear, but yet your actions don't match that at all? So I'm happy to hear, though, that apparently after the Department of Labor got involved, the situation with these department stores did get rectified. It says that the department said it has penalized the garment companies and some manufacturers that act as intermediaries between the factories and the retailers. Those companies were ordered to pay $1.3 million in lost wages and damages to the workers. But the retailers will avoid any repercussions for hiring factories that violate labor laws. Now, it's my understanding that these stores also, they don't want to do business with companies overseas that do these violations, but yet here in America, they're doing this and then some. So how can you have this standard for companies overseas, but yet you yourself say, to heck with it? If we don't get caught, this is something we're willing to do. So, I say this, wherever it is that you do business, check to see how the company, how it does its business, because sometimes you'll be shocked and amazed at some of the violations that take place. Also, I found it interesting. I was reading another article, and this, I guess, happened maybe a year or so ago in the Los Angeles Times. And they were talking about wealthy people versus poor people in terms of giving. And it is just amazing because they say that wealthy people are the stingiest people. And I was trying to figure out why. Why would a person with a lot of things, I guess, to offer be stingy? But I guess it's true. It says that as the annual season of giving dawns, a new study finds that stark income inequity, a dramatically rising trend in the United States, makes the haves less generous toward others. Higher income people were less inclined to be generous when they came from states where income inequity was high and when they were made to believe that there was a sharp divide between the rich and the poor. And they were less charitable in both cases than were low-income people. Since the 1980s, the end of a 30-year period during which the middle class flourished in the United States, wealth has increasingly concentrated at the top of the economic ladder, while lowering incomes. Americans have commanded a smaller share of the nation's wealth. In 2013, the top 0.1% of households received approximately 10% of the pre-tax income versus approximately 3% to 4% between 1951 and 1981. The Congressional Budget Office reckoned that between 1979 and 2007, households controlling the top 1% of the nation's wealth increased their incomes 275%. Now that's a huge number. While the incomes of those in the economy's lowest tier picked up a mere 18%. What a disparity. 275% versus 18%. Now, isn't there something wrong with that picture? I think so. It said that of the 1,400 people who participated in the survey, donation by those with household incomes above $125,000 was more prevalent among those who lived in the states in which income inequity was low. Among wealthier survey takers from states with higher income inequity, fewer took the opportunity to donate. The authors also conducted an experiment in which 704 people were presented with simulated information portraying their home states as having either high or low income inequity, and then given the chance to bestow raffle tickets on another participant when they were prompted to believe they lived in a state with high income inequity. Now we have a phone call, so bear with me as I discover where my headset is. I think I'm about to get it. So caller, bear with me, okay? All right, I'm ready. Hello?
Yes, we are thankful that you found your headset. So we can talk about
isn't
gratitude.
That terrible? Isn't that terrible?
That's okay. It makes it more exciting.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for calling.
You're very, very welcome. This is Camille, and I just wanted to say that I'm grateful to still have a burning desire for more.
Oh, okay.
Just that I haven't given up, that I haven't been, discouraged by any of the knocks that maybe come with life. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy that I'm still pushing and still pressing, and I can still think of things that I'd like to accomplish, and then that I have the energy and the presence of mind to actually pursue them, whatever they may be and whatever the progress may be. I think it's just, I'm grateful for that.
Well, that is, I appreciate you saying that, and I'll tell you why. Because when we suffer challenges in life, it's very hard to look at our situation and when it's not making us feel good, and think in terms of the future, because most of the time we just want to wallow in whatever the pitiful state we find ourselves in, and just stay there. So I'm very happy to hear that it has actually your circumstances in life. It's pushing you towards some new adventures and some new goals and some positive things in your life, because many times people do get stuck on the misery. So I'm glad to hear that you're focusing on the magnificence. But I do want to ask you quickly. Now, I was sharing earlier that at my house, in terms of the meal, what I like to eat. Now, is there a particular thing that you look forward to when it comes to Thanksgiving dinner?
My sister is an exquisite cook. And as one relative so eloquently put it, that Thanksgiving is for the professionals. And so I always come with a hearty appetite, because that's for those who have trained over years.
Okay, now is there anything that you do know how to cook, though, Camille?
Well, I make a delicious casserole.
Okay, now is it the green
not
bean?
Necessarily like a thing. No, I make like a delicious, kind of tuna casserole, but that's not necessarily Thanksgiving food. So I definitely defer to people who know how to do Thanksgiving food. But I think if you talk about your favorite things to eat, for me it would be the dressing, cornbread dressing.
Cornbread dressing, okay.
Cornbread dressing with a little mushroom gravy, and then for dessert the cobbler. That's probably I prefer that over even the pie, the pumpkin pie or sweet potato pie. Okay,
now when you say cobbler, as in peach or in apple?
Peach cobbler, but I have Aunt Eliza, it's from Chicago, and she would make actually a sweet potato cobbler. And
A
so
sweet
that's
potato
when
cobbler?
She made a sweet potato
Oh
cobbler.
my God, that
She
sounds so
perfected
good.
the peach cobbler and took it another level and made a peach cobbler. But really, any cobbler. My sister makes a delicious blackberry cobbler.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
yeah,
my mom
cobblers are
did
just-
too. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Now, where
they're
does
just
she get
beautiful.
blackberries though? She just uses the frozen ones.
She uses actually the fresh ones. Yeah,
Really?
She gets the fresh ones and kind of cooks them down and makes a
Well,
delicious
you
cobbler.
guys didn't invite me to Thanksgiving dinner, but I'm going to invite myself if she's making.
Well, listen, you with the countless family members, it's very difficult to get
No,
them and
it's
get an
not,
invitation out to you.
They will understand if I get up from the table and say, you know what, I'm going to Camille's house for blackberry cobbler. They would want to
Exactly.
come.
Yeah, I may have to bring you, come and kind of kidnap you just for the dessert. But, this is just, in the spirit of what you're saying, it's such a beautiful conversation because I think that this is that time of the year where I think, October kind of rushes in and ushers in gluttony. And
Yes.
then as we move towards November and the end of November and Thanksgiving, we're really thinking about what we can acquire in the upcoming months. And I think just balancing it with just gratitude for where we are and for what we have, because it's the intangible things that make for quality of life, our health, our vision, our sense of smell and taste, the ability to sit down and read a good book, to listen to beautiful music. So many things that we have, that we can just be thankful for, basic things.
Well, you make a good point about gluttony because in that CNN poll that I talked about earlier, they say that just on Thanksgiving Day, that people consume like 4,500 calories.
Oh, I'm sure easily. My mother grew up in Mississippi, and she said that her cousins, when they would come over to eat, and this wasn't just Thanksgiving, they'd come over to eat, they would unfasten their clothes, unfasten their bottoms, so that they could really, enjoy. And so I think, I think that gluttony that we all engage in is part of what makes it hard for us to just be so grateful, because we're just
Too full.
we're so busy consuming, and we're not even thinking about the wonderful things like friends like you.
Oh,
And,
thank you.
So I'm just grateful, but I'm grateful all year round. It doesn't take November to get me there.
Well, I opened the show. I was talking about my son when he was 7 and how he said that the teacher asked them about Thanksgiving and what they were thankful for. And he said, his mom and dad and his house and all of that. And then about a minute or so later, he asked me, what did thankful mean? And I know that you have a lovely preteen daughter. Now, what does she think about all of this thing? Is she really looking forward to it, or is it just another day for her to talk to her friends on Snapchat or whatever they talk on?
And that's the thing. I think with teens and preteens and just this kind of, I don't even know if they're millennials. I think they're really the generation after the millennials. They're so tuned in all the time. And so she's going to enjoy and be excited about maybe just not being in school, but hopefully in that not being in school and having a couple days off, we can get some photography in, which is something that she loves to do. So hopefully we'll be able to catch some beautiful images around Southern California and,
Oh, okay.
kind of
Now,
exercise her art.
Now, before I let you go, I just want to touch on one thing, and that's I was reading, when you called, I was talking about stinginess, and it says, it was talking about the wealthy people who have at least 275% of the wealth, and then the rest of the people have 18%, and yet they're the stingy folks. Does that make any sense to you? I mean, if you have that kind of just the access to that level of I don't even know what you call it, that level of wealth. How do you become so stingy with that such a big separation?
Well, but this is what I think, and I'm probably maybe off on a tangent here, but I think that people who are extremely wealthy and people who are extremely needy have in common a lack of understanding of like moderation and just basic human comfort. So if you don't have it, you're imagining all the things that you need. And I think if you do have it, there's a psychology that goes with that is probably unnatural.
Yes.
I mean, you know, and I think it's challenging for people like that. So I think people who have all that wealth don't even, the thought of them even losing a little bit of it, as silly as it sounds to the rest of us, would throw off their equilibrium. And there's almost a paranoia that sets in around it. So I think it's challenging. All of us imagine, if only I had, I would. I'm not quite so sure, because I don't know if you ever get comfortable. The more you have, I think the more you want. And so I think that's what extremely wealthy people deal with. It's a psychology in and of itself.
Well, it must be, because I really, when I read that number, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
When, you know, you hear about the top 1% all the time, but to really see what the top 1% looks like, it's overwhelming, because I just don't know what to make of such disparity. I don't even know what to do about that. But now, one last question, and then I'm going to let you go. Now, are you doing any traveling for the holiday, or you're basically stationary? And
I think I'm gonna do a road trip to like North Las Vegas. That's my goal, and if all things stay equal, that's what I'll do.
Okay. Now, you say North Las Vegas. Does that mean that no gambling? Is that kind of
away from the Strip in a nice, quiet, demure residential area?
Oh, you're such a chicken.
But we'll drive through the fun. And wish others well.
Yes, I hear you. Because I believe this, that for me, now this is just for me, I'm not telling other people what they need to do, but when I go to Las Vegas, $40 is enough to lose. So if I'm not winning, then $40 is it in terms of losing. And
exactly, and that's that moderation that we
that's
all
right.
have
That's
to
right.
kind of work on. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you and all of your audience, and may we just know what gratitude is throughout the year.
Yes,
I think it should be ever present with us.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for calling, and happy Thanksgiving to you and to yours.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right.
Bye.
Well, listen, if you want to do as Camille has done, if you'd like to share something about Thanksgiving, a thought or a prayer or whatever it is that you'd like to share, you can feel free to call at area code 323-293-3375. Okay, we're going to go to a break, and we'll be right back. Okay?
Mastering math can be big fun. Fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Attention, mothers and sons, fathers and daughters. Come join the 2016 Math Maze Game Tournament, Saturday, December 3rd, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Carson Community Center. Win trophies and great prizes while playing a card game that helps your kids improve their math skills. Mothers, bring your sons. Fathers, bring your daughters. Register online at mathmaze.us or call 310-697-3177. Sponsored by the Academic Preparation Squad, a California 501c3 nonprofit.
big Cadillac. Gangsta white walls. TV ain't.
Wow. I guess that's, I'm going to leave that alone. Thank you so much for joining the Carolyn Holt Show. Today we're talking about Thanksgiving and all the things that people are grateful for, and we're also talking about people who are struggling with a deep sadness due to some unforeseen challenge in their lives. And if you have any of that, you can feel free to call the show at area code 323-293-3375. Last segment, we talked about people being stingy. In this segment, I think what I have to share is the ultimate in sharing and giving. Now, this person, this is from the Los Angeles Times as well, and this person is from Nigeria. And I'm going to say he is probably the most generous person, and he's not just generous during Thanksgiving. He is generous all year round, and I'm going to give him a gold star because when I read his story, I tell you, I've not seen this level of giving from anybody that I know. And so I'm just going to read a little bit about him. It says his name is Buzu. Well, maybe that's not his name. Maybe that's the actual street he lives on. But no, his name is Buzu. And now he himself, he has a family. He has 4 wives. And he has 25 children. So I want you to keep that in mind. He has 4 wives and 25 children. And I guess his religion is Muslim. So this level of marriage, I guess, is permitted. But he is known for giving. And he says, I give things out. I always receive more blessings. This has kept me going. Charity is a mandated principle, I guess, in Islam. And he sees it as an act of purification. Now, he says that people visit him all day long, poor people, wealthy people. And he says that the wealthy people bring things to him to give to the poor people. And the poor people simply come to him because they need help to get things from him. And apparently this man has given out at least 1,000 houses. Now, they may not be the same kind of houses that you and I live in here in America, but just think about that. Giving away 1,000 houses to poor people. Well, I mean, that's unheard of. I mean, I don't know anybody who has given away one house, let alone 1,000. But apparently, Mr. Buzu, he runs a school where he teaches the young men in his village. I guess they learn the Quran. But he himself, even though he has 4 wives and 25 children, he does not live an extravagant lifestyle. He's not in a house that's like 10 times bigger or better than the people in his neighborhood or his hood. And he says that charity, since it's a mandated principle of Islam, that he's interested in doing this because it's an act of purification. And he says that he feels, I guess, a sense of obligation to help people, even though many of the people that he gives these homes to, they don't have the ability to pay him back. Some of them, they don't have a way to earn a living, but yet he thinks that to give them a house is something wonderful. And I agree with him. I mean, if you're going to really help somebody, giving them a house, I think is the ultimate act of showing that you really do care about your fellow man. So Mr. Buzu, the city that he lives in, it's full of, I guess, refugees, because it's a situation that they are suffering from war. And so refugees come to this place, I guess, by the thousands. And many of them are women and children. And so they come and they tell Mr. Buzu what it is that they have an urgent need of, and he takes care of it. But it says that despite his popularity, this is interesting. Despite his popularity, Buzu does have enemies. And 4 years ago, the Islamic extremist group Boko Haram started threatening the neighborhood. And one person there had a barber shop, and they threatened him and told him that he would have to close down his barber shop. And it said one morning, 2 gunmen sped up on a motorcycle as Buzu was crossing his compound and fired 6 shots at him, and they all missed. Now, I would say that if somebody fires 6 shots at you and they all miss, I don't know of a bigger blessing that you could ask for. So apparently Mr. Buzu is doing something correct. It says that their motive was not clear, but he said, I think they wanted to kill me so my people would suffer and be left in deplorable conditions. Then they might turn to this particular organization. It says, inside the compound where the people live, clothing is strung like, on one of those wires. And the interesting thing is that the women, they're in charge of doing all the work. And it says some of the women, they have small businesses, and they do a lot of different things to earn money. Some of them sell hats. Some of them do men's suits. Some grind grain to make bread. And Yagara, somebody, she's 21, and she's a refugee that Mr. Buzu helped. And it says that Mr. Buzu, when he saw her, he said, people are constantly heaping blessings upon me, and this particular woman needs a blessing, and I'm willing to do that. So in terms of gratitude and in terms of being gracious, I guess I have to tip my hat to Mr. Buzu, because he seems like one of the most giving people in the world, even though he does not himself have that much to give. But because people know that he is a giving person, they give a lot to him. Now, when I think about how we live here in America, that's a big challenge for us to see if we can give away 1,000 houses in our lifetime and support a refugee camp and, do all of these wonderful things, because so many times we do make the holidays about what we're going to receive, not what we're going to give away. So I challenge you during this holiday season to think about how you can be a blessing to others. Because if we go by Scripture says that it is more blessed to give than it is to receive. And most people justify that in every way they can. They don't just take it in that vein and accept that it's more blessed to give than to receive. They always feel they have to qualify it in some way. But I would challenge you to think about that, and especially during Thanksgiving, when you're with your loved ones and you have a surplus and an excess, think about that. Because I would say in my lifetime, for years, I used to go to the missions and on Thanksgiving Day and, help to give out food. And it was, I can't even describe the feeling that you get from helping people. Many of the people there were families, and they would be so gracious and so thankful that, that you decided to come on Thanksgiving Day and share in providing and helping them get a meal. And one of the things I discovered is that many times when the men come, they don't like to ask for seconds. Most of the times, they're embarrassed to ask for seconds. So when I noticed that, I asked the person that was in charge. There's two, the downtown mission, and then there's a mission in Pasadena, California, that they do a great and beautiful meal for Thanksgiving. And I asked them, I said, well, is it okay if they have seconds? And they were going, oh, yeah. And so once I found that out, rather than having the men ask for seconds, I just went to them and said, was that enough? Would you like more? And, they went, oh, yeah, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. We didn't want to ask for more. So it's just a wonderful time. So if you ever have the opportunity to go to the mission and help to serve on Thanksgiving Day or Christmas or whenever, believe me, I can't tell you how wonderful and great it makes you feel. So think about doing this holiday season. And I just want to say to my audience, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I have enjoyed sharing and bringing you a program each week, and I hope that you have enjoyed receiving them. And I just want to say, this show is about keeping your head up. And the important thing to always remember is that the show is to move you from misery to magnificence and from subpar to spectacular. So I want you to have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and good night.
Mastering math can be big fun for you and everyone. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it, Math Maze.
Why not turn math time into fun time with Math Maze, the new game craze? Get yours today at mathmaze.us.
Mom, now you can help your son master math and have big fun. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Make sure your child owns the skills necessary for success in high school algebra. Get it now. Mathmaze.us. Mathmaze.us.
Dad, now you can help your daughter play it like you know you oughta. Play it each and every day. Master math the easy way. Say it, play it. Math Maze.
Math Maze cards contain both Spanish and English. Get yours today at mathmaze.us. That's mathmaze.us.
Attention, mothers and sons, fathers and daughters. Come join the 2016 Math Maze Game Tournament, Saturday, December 3rd, 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. at the Carson Community Center. Win trophies and great prizes while playing a card game that helps your kids improve their math skills. Mothers, bring your sons. Fathers, bring your daughters. Register online at mathmaze.us or call 310-697-3177. Sponsored by the Academic Preparation Squad, a California 501c3 nonprofit.